welcome to Crochet Haven Podcast. This is episode 3. My name is Tiffany. I am Penguin Freak 88 on Instagram, Ravelry, and Facebook, so you can go look me up if you like. My last podcast, I was Apostolic Knitter, but I decided to change my name because it was causing a lot of confusion with pronunciation. So now you can find me as Penguin Freak 88. I love penguins. My favorite penguin is the African penguin. And yeah, so anyways, I would like to give a shout out to Valeria. She introduced herself on my Ravelry group, Crochet Haven Podcast. You can find that as well on Ravelry. I will also put a link in my show notes. She is from the Netherlands. I find it awesome that I have someone from other countries watching my podcast. That really brings enjoyment to me because I'm reaching out to people, and that's my main thing for this. She did point out that when I talk on my podcast, I mostly talk to ladies, and there are guys out there that do knit, so I'm going to try and address the guys as well because I don't want them to feel forgotten. So ladies and gents, welcome to my podcast. And I'm just going to jump right in and I'll get to conversation later. So I do have my Reiki hat. I have made progress on it. And for those that have been watching my podcast, you know that I have several projects going at once. So I have slow progress on my projects. So this is my Reiki hat. So I don't have too much further to go. I think it's 9 inches before the decrease, and I haven't really measured it lately, but looks like I'm getting kind of close to that. Another one of my projects that I've been working on, a lot of you have seen already for those that are returning. So I'm going to show it for those that are new as well. This is my Carlsbad hat, done in the Kiss Me I'm Irish colorway from Molly Garl Yarns, and it's turning out awesome. I love the way the colors are going. And for those who know Liam, you can hear him in the background. I'm in my bedroom and he's in the living room. My mom's trying to keep him occupied, so you probably will hear them in the background. Hopefully it doesn't get too crazy. But so this is a Carlsbad hat, and this one I have to knit for 3 inches. And while I'm on this hat, I'm going to talk about one of my acquisitions that I'm going to be showing you. This is a loom knitting rubber band, and they had them on sale at Hobby Lobby, so I only paid 60 cents for a big bag of them. And I'm trying them out as stitch markers because I don't really have any. And with this hat, I'm using fingering weight yarn. It's really thin. And the stitch markers that I was using was just really messing up this hat. Like the stitches where the stitch markers are, I'm trying to find the spot where I can see, kind of show you guys. It just really messed up my hat. So I decided to switch to this to try and keep my stitches from stretching out, because with these stitch markers, it doesn't really. I don't know if you can see it. There's some blemishes in the fabric as well, but right there's a hole. Right there. And that is compliments of my stitch marker. And I didn't realize it until I got further in the hat. So, can't really, I mean I can go back, but it's just a lot of work. So we're not going to do that. Okay, I'm not going to show all the projects that I have because some of them are hibernated and I don't want to just ramble on about the same things every time. I did get more bows made. I guess I can take one out the pouch. As I talked about in my last podcast, I've been making up some bows to send to my friend Misty who makes jewelry. and she's going to make rings out of them. So this is what we got. Let's see. And I have quite a few made up so far, and been playing around with it, and I'm gonna do some with orange with the green center, and then green with the orange center, and I'm probably gonna do some blue bows next, and then get those sent out to her to where she could start making up those rings. As far as I know, she still hasn't created an Etsy shop, but as soon as she does, I'll get that link on with my show notes, and maybe you can go check out her jewelry, which is absolutely awesome. Some new projects that I started working on, and I talked about this in the Never Cast Off podcast. I think I was speaking with Sheila about it. I started a new project this week, and this has been my primary concentration. A few episodes ago, I showed you the ripple, it was like a ripple puff stitch baby blanket that I was working on for my niece, and I hadn't worked on it in a really long time, and I just could not stand the pattern. It was one of those that you had to follow the pattern, and you just couldn't catch on to what was going on with it, so I just didn't get any enjoyment out of knitting or crocheting it at all. And so I went and I found a new pattern, and I started her a new blanket, and that blanket will more than likely be frogged eventually. It is a very pretty pattern, the one that I was working on before, but I just love this one so much more. And this is called the Rainbow Ripple Baby Blanket. It's a free pattern on Ravelry, and I absolutely love it. I'm doing all kinds of colors. My next color will be pink, and then I'll have purple, and then I'm going to start over with the orange and go another repeat of all the colors, and then stop. But this is for my niece, and I'm trying to make it to where she could use it long term, so keep it pretty big. That way she'll be able to use it for a while. And that is crocheted. I've been crocheting a lot lately, actually. I've been in kind of a knitting funk, and I just haven't really felt like knitting, so I've just been crocheting. And then another project that I started working on this week, I had talked about a scarf that I was knitting for my Facebook page that I had created a while back called Crochet Haven, and that's just kind of like a local page that I have for around here to try and sell my crochet knit work to where I can make some extra money, because I'm a single parent and I'm not working right now. I didn't really do too much with it. I knitted some shoes. You can go find those on my projects page and everything. And so I did this when I first created the page. I announced that the first person to like the page would get something free and of their choice, whether it be scarf or hat or something like that. Well, I started knitting her scarf, and once again, it was my first cable. I didn't really care for it, so I frogged it. And I discovered shawls. So I decided to start knitting her the Be Simple Variations shawl, and I absolutely love this pattern. Me and Rachel, also known as Ardosi, she has the Life is a Ball of Yarn podcast, was discussing it in her group. She's also knitting the shawl as well. And this is what I have, Rachel. It is black and pink. And I mean, I guess it can go both ways. This is supposed to be, I guess, the front side, or you can do this side, whichever. I guess both sides look good. I'm knitting these with size 10s on circular needles, of course. I got these. They are the Knitter's Pride, I believe. I got a whole set of them. Sizes, I think it's like size 4 to size 12. Some of them have broken. My size 4s have completely broken half, and then my 6s, the tip broke off, but I kind of super glued it back on so I can still use it. But they've been pretty good needles. I'm really rough, like when I'm knitting, especially with the smaller needles. My DPNs for my size 1s are kind of crooked because the way I hold them, I bend them. But this is my Be Simple variation shawl so far. And I've been working on this quite a bit as well. I chose to do a bigger needle. This is worsted weight yarn, and I wanted to show off the holes a lot better. But I'm really liking this, and it makes it a little bit softer. It's still kind of rough, but it's kind of soft. And okay, so next, another project that I followed this week is the corkscrew hat that I've shown. I really like the pattern, but I needed the yarn for my niece's blanket, so I frogged it where I could use that blue and that green to make her blanket with, because I want to try and get that finished. So moving on to my finished objects. I actually don't have any finished objects that I've actually been knitting on recently, but like I said, I did find a bunch of things while we were cleaning the other day, and I really wanted to show those off to you guys. So Rachel knitted her first baby sweater, and I was really satisfied with her finished project, and it was really awesome, you know, for her first try. And I was telling her on her group that I was going to be showing off my very first sweater. So this is my first crocheted sweater. This is the first sweater that I ever crocheted. Okay. And it's just in the back. And then it unbuttons right here. And I just got some black buttons on there. And I just found this. And then I made a matching hat to go with it. This is actually knitted, so it's a crochet jacket with a knitted hat. But it's the same colors, the same yarn. And then I also had a pair of shoes that I knitted to go with this as well. The person that this was intended for got the shoes, but I never got this to them, and now their baby is too big to fit into it. So I think I'm going to give it to a cousin of mine who just had a baby as a gift. This is my first knitted sweater. It doesn't really show up well in this camera, but it's just white. I did short sleeve because this is actually a set, and this was supposed to be my son's christening outfit because my ex-husband is Catholic and he wants to have him christened. So I made these pants and this sweater for him to wear for his christening. But he hasn't been christened yet, and he's rather large for his age, so it's not really going to fit him anymore. The pants might still, but the jacket definitely not. So I might have to come up with either adding more stitches here to make it wider and then at the bottom, or I might just make something else. But that was another project that I did. And this was my first pair of pants, baby pants knitted. And then I have, which my son has been playing with this, so it's a little messed up. He's done ripped one of the ears off, had to sew it back on, and then the poor nose, he ripped that up. But this is his monkey hat. He loves Curious George, and he loves monkeys, which we have Monkey back here. Monkey sleeps with us, and this is the hat that I made him. And he loves this thing. He runs around the house in it, and My other son Max will wear it, and they just trade back and forth. I need to get another one made. But I was very satisfied with this as well. And I've also made a Mickey Mouse hat like this as well. You can see that on my projects page. That was actually knitted for a friend of mine. She paid me to do it. So I don't have that to show anymore. But I do have pictures of that on my projects page if you want to go find me on Ravelry and go look at my projects page. There's pictures and all that good stuff as well. So for my last finished object that I have to show you, I've actually discussed this project with Maureen from Victorian Studio. When I first got into watching the podcast, I was watching her podcast and she was showing off it's like a rainbow scarf that she knitted for, I think it was autism awareness. I'm not sure. But it's been several weeks ago. But I asked if I can use her pattern. She didn't really have a pattern written up, and she kind of told me how she did it, and I made up my own version of her scarf, of the scarf that she knitted. It doesn't look anything like hers, but this is what I came up with. And this was made for my niece. I never did get it to her either. Her birthday was in June, and I never got it to her. But it's a scarf. It's kind of short. I could have made it a little bit longer. This is also my oops. Get that up there so you can see it a little bit better. It's knit and crochet. I knitted this part right here, and then I crocheted it together and added a crochet border. But this is my oops. When I first made this, I wasn't really watching podcasts. I didn't know much about knitting, and I decided to wash it. And this yarn is, acrylic. It's machine washable. But I had fringe on the end, and I didn't dry it, but the fringe is rattling. So I just, I didn't know to just block it, but this is my oops. Alright. And that's all for projects. When I first wrote up my notes for this podcast, I did not have any acquisitions, but I got lucky and I was able to go to Hobby Lobby yesterday. So I do got some acquisitions, and I'm super excited about that. So these are the rubber bands that I bought for my version of stitch markers. It's just like the loom bands. I only paid like 60 cents for them. And then I got this on sale. This is Baby Bee Sweet Delight Tutti Frutti. It's 377 yards. Doesn't really say. It's 60% acrylic, 40% polyamide. It's an awesome colorway. And please forgive the background noise. My house is really small and it's kind of embarrassing. But yeah. And then I have this. This is the next color for Sandra's blanket. It is 100% acrylic, and it is the Passion colorway with Crafter's Secret. And when using acrylic yarn, this is my favorite. It's cheap. It's only $2.99 at Hobby Lobby, and it comes in 355 yards, and it's really soft. It's not really that rough textured acrylic yarn, so I really like this. But I'm super excited about this. This is probably going to be a pair of socks. And that's all for my acquisition. Something else that I didn't have written down in my project notes that I actually just learned last night is how to make yarn with the plastic grocery bags. So you take a regular just plastic grocery bag and you can make yarn out of it. And I kind of did a swatch to kind of show you guys what it looks like. I mean, you could tell it's plastic, but I'm crocheting with it, and I'm going to try and make a project bag with it. But I thought that was really awesome. It's like free yarn. That's the little ball. This is just one bag. I'm cutting them up as I need it. And so I'm making a project bag out of plastic bags from the grocery store. And I thought that was really, really awesome. And I'm super excited to see how it turns out. And hopefully I'll be able to show that to you guys. I did forget about one acquisition. Sorry, I'm kind of all over the place. I do have notes, and I'm supposed to be, following those notes. But Talia from Pin Hook and Needles is always talking about her teas, and I've never really got into hot tea. I love sweet tea, Southern style sweet tea, 2 cups to a gallon. But I decided to buy some tea, and this is the herbal tea sampler from Celestial. It's got chamomile, lemon zinger, peppermint, honey vanilla chamomile, and sleepy time. I'm going to be trying this tea out and testing it, and I don't have a mug right now because I'm kind of trying to squeeze this podcast in. Been saying for 2 days that I was going to do it, and I just haven't, and so I'm just taking the opportunity to get this out to you guys before I'm all booked up. It's really hard for me to podcast with my kids. My last time I podcast, actually, I had to stop halfway through because I look in my camera and my 2-year-old and my 1-year-old are running away down the road. And I didn't have anybody to watch them at that time. So I was trying to podcast and watch them at the same time, and it was just very difficult. Right now I have my mom and my sister watching. You can hear them in the background, background noise. My sister's cooking. We're having fried fish tonight for dinner. Yeah, and it's just kind of hard to podcast. So I'm trying to get them out when I can. It won't be like set days. I want to try and podcast every week like Rachel does with Life is a Ball of Yarn, but I do not know if I'll be able to do that. I've been it's been pretty much like every 2.5 weeks I've been podcasting, but I'm going to try and start getting out every week because I love doing this. I mean, I do it for myself, but I also like the idea of somebody else enjoying it as well. Some things that I forgot to talk about in my last podcast. I was super excited to tell you guys about Liam's first horse ride. That was super exciting. It's kind of my first horse ride too, but but he has always just screamed bloody murder every time I got him near a horse. And I finally got him on one, and we took a long horse ride, and it was me and him and a friend of mine all on one horse. Poor thing, poor horse. But it was really enjoying. The next day I was so sore I could barely move, but it was so much fun. I've also sorry, I just remembered a whip that I have that I found while I was cleaning. I'll show that to you in a minute. But I also created another group on my Facebook page, I'm trying to reach out to other knitters in my area. I'm hoping that I can try and get together a yarn club so we can get together, knit, and talk and just socialize. So if you are from Washington Parish in Louisiana, please feel free to get in touch with me, and we're trying to get that together. We have a group on Facebook, Washington Parish Knitters and Crocheters. I have 2 ladies in there right now that are interested in doing it. We're just trying to get a few more, so it's not just 3 of us. But that is something that I look forward to because I have no friends that knit that live around here. So all I have is my podcast, which I'm behind on. And then nobody knits or crochets, so I'm the only one. I'm just in my own little world here. Let's show you that whip. This is my favorite one. And I'm super excited to be able to work on this again. I would show off bags, but I don't have any like actual project bags. I'm just using backpacks and purses right now. And I started working on this a while back, and I think I've mentioned this blanket, talking about it before. But this is a blanket that I started knitting for Liam, which is my oldest, my 2-year-old. It's really large. I don't know if I can get it all in there. This is the baby boy chevron blanket. It's a free Ravelry pattern. And I love this blanket. I made one for my son Max as well. And he's got it with him at his daddy's house, so I don't have it to show off, but that's my awesome blanket that I've been working on. I've been working on that for ages. I can't believe I forgot about it, but I really did. And I was digging through a box, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I forgot about this. And it had that, and then all of these things, all in one bag. So that was exciting. Let's see. What am I forgetting? I have had a very eventful week this week. It was the horse ride that I forgot to talk about last podcast. But this week I've had a pretty eventful week. I had a really nasty scare the other night. I was crafting, and I'd asked my sister to borrow her hot glue gun, and my boyfriend was here, and he didn't really know, so he decided to plug it in, and he didn't tell me that he plugged it in. And my 2-year-old was in the room with us, and I was in my yarn box trying to untangle like a mess of yarn, and I didn't know that the hot glue gun was on, and my 2-year-old decided to get a hold of it. So now he has a little burn right here underneath his eye from the tip of the hot glue gun, and it scared me so much. Like, I thought he had hot glue in his eye, and I was gonna have to take him to the emergency room. But he's okay. You can hear him playing in the background. He's fine. He's just got that. He's going to have a scar, but it's just a little burn right here under his eye. So my boyfriend now knows not to leave stuff like that just laying around. And he doesn't have any kids, so he doesn't really know. But it's just my week. On top of that, my truck is about to die. My alternator is going out, I think, and so that's not good. But other than that, it's just been a normal week. Haven't really felt like knitting. I've been doing a lot of crocheting. Future projects that I have that I'm wanting to get into. My friend actually messaged me on Facebook last night, and the fox cow that is on Ravelry, I'm going to do the free pattern, but she's wanting me to make that for her granddaughter for this winter. So I have to get some bulky yarn for that. I'm not really used to working in bulky, but for her, I will get that made up. I'm wanting to do a hooded pullover for my boys for this winter as well. So I have found the Seamless Baby Hooded Pullover by Maggie Van Buten on Ravelry. And I've also found a Baby Sophisticate Free by Lyndon Down. I don't have those printed out, but those are two potential projects that I'm going to cast on the needles soon. And then also I was looking at the Dewdrop Wrap, which is a very awesome, I think it's crocheted, kind of like a wrap scarf by Belle Tracy. So I think I might do that as well. And then the next sock pattern that I'm going to cast onto, I have Devil's Snare written down here by Eric Luder, but I've also found a vanilla latte sock pattern or something like that this morning. I think I'm going to cast onto that pattern with that Tutti Frutti yarn that I have. So that's all on my potential projects. So I wanted to let you lot guys know what podcasts I watch. So if you don't watch these podcasts, maybe you will go watch them. So I'm kind of trying to promote other podcasters. So I was talking about Rachel earlier. She's Ardosi on Ravelry. She has a podcast, Life is a Ball of Yarn. I love watching her podcast and seeing what she's got going. Never Cast Off with Deb and Sheila. I love those ladies. They are awesome. I got another shout out in their last podcast. Even though I haven't watched the full episode yet, I am going to do that. It's on my Watch Later list. But I love you guys. Just saying. Victorian Studio with Maureen. She's known as Victorian Studio on Ravelry. She is a very talented, crafty lady. I just love watching what she does, and she doesn't just do knitting, she does everything. And then the last podcast I watched with her, she was talking about the Kitchener stitch and the history behind it, and I can't really go into detail because I don't have it with me, but you should go watch it because it's awesome. Loops with Sarah and Lydia. I love those guys, and hopefully I'll be able to participate in their Harry Potter knit along. Crossing my fingers for House Hufflepuff if I can get that yarn purchased in September. A Homespun House with Molly. I love watching her podcast. She is podcasting from Germany. And it's just really interesting watching her and seeing all the things that she does. Caffeinated Knitting with Allie and Daniela. I've talked about them quite a bit on here as well. I miss you guys. Can't wait for you to get back on there. Some new podcasts that I started watching recently is the Unnamed Knitting Podcast with Devin. And it's actually named the Unnamed Knitting Podcast. And then I also watch Backstage Knits Podcast with Catherine. She's very interesting, and I love her podcast as well. And then the big one that I just started watching is Pinhook and Needles with Talia and Glenda. That is Franciscan Gypsy and Lady Fernico on Ravelry. They are awesome. I love you guys. I hope to be able to participate in their cardiac read along. They have lots of prizes for that knit along, so if you want to get over to their group, it's Pinhook and Needles on Ravelry, and join in on that. It does end at the end of September, I believe. Don't let me lie. I believe it's September. And then they also do this baby hat drive. Talia is a ICU nurse at a hospital where they live. And the hospital does a baby hat drive for all the newborns born at the hospital. They take donations for baby hats. So I plan to make up some baby hats and get those mailed to Talia. I believe they live in Virginia, but I want to start knitting for charity, and baby hats is the way to go. I also have a friend that lives over in Texas, and she wants to start helping the homeless people in Houston, and I have volunteered to crochet or knit up some hats and some scarves for her to take and hand out. So if anybody is interested in that, please let me know in the podcast group, and we can try and get something together to maybe knit that up. I live in Louisiana, but the burden that is on her heart is to help these people, and she's trying to help people and she can't even help herself. So I want to try and help her help them, if that makes sense. So it would be awesome if anybody would like to participate in that, and I'll start up a thread in the group to talk about that if you're interested. I believe that's all that I have today. Yeah. So, if anybody is interested with that scarf and hat drive, let me know. If you want to participate in the knit-alongs with Pin, Hook, and Needles, get over there and join their group. Loop's Harry Potter knit-along will be starting in September, I believe. So if you didn't purchase a pre-order kit, you can, I believe they said you can purchase a skein of yarn when they release the Harry Potter collection in the 1st of September. And if you purchase a skein of yarn, you'll be sorted into a house and be entered into that knit-along. And I'm very, very crossing my fingers that I'll have the money. So keep me in your mind, in your prayers. Hopefully I'll be able to participate in that. I'm super excited about it, and if not, then I will definitely be in it next year. But I think that's all for this week. If I forgot anything, I will include it in next week's episode, and I hope you enjoyed. Until next time, this is the Crochet Haven podcast, and be well.